Welcome, everybody. It has been months, I guess. I would say months. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see a little bit different background, or maybe I did this once. Partly it's been months because of that, partly it's been months because of me. So today's podcast is going to be short, sweet, a little check in, a little where has Dr. Natalie been? And then we can talk more about where we'll be going in the future at Midlife Crisis to a Centered Life Thriving. So if you've missed me and you're wanting an update, then you'll want to keep listening. Welcome. This is Midlife Crisis to a Centered Life Thriving, a podcast that teaches women in midlife to unapologetically stop silencing their dreams and start designing the lives they want to live in. I'm your host, Dr. Natalie, and as a clinical psychologist of the last 2 decades and a twice divorced single mother myself, I not only know how hard it can feel heading into midlife, I am living it right here with you. I have taken all the many failed attempts and lessons learned in my own life and combine it with my extensive clinical experience to give you the tools you need to make midlife the best time in your life. No joke. So let's get started. Hey everyone. So I may have done it in this area, but the last time I came to you was quite a bit ago. Well, last time I came to you brand new was quite a bit ago. I haven't even looked, so I can't tell you, but I want to say it was in the spring. I'm pretty sure I did nothing over the summer. I was trying to put out old podcasts, just to have in the cycle. But I stopped doing that too. And I figured that you all deserved a reason for that. I don't have a spectacular reason for that. Like, it's not something super, super juicy, but I think it's something super, super relevant. So I figured we should talk about it today. And so that's really all I'm coming on to do is to kind of explain where I've been, why I've been gone, what's been happening. And what will happen. Maybe. I make no promises to anyone ever these days. And that's kind of the topic of conversation. Midlife is a trip, right? Like, this is my 50th run around the sun. And I'm getting the brunt this last winter, especially winter of like 2024 to 2025, which in Minnesota is a good 6 months long. So it's like half the year. I was really struggling with what I know to be the hormonal changes of midlife and then how that impacts us from an emotional standpoint, from a physical standpoint, from the combination of those standpoints. But it really hit me hard. And in the spirit of things that I talk about on this podcast, I wanted to make sure that I was taking care of me. And this project, the podcast project, just started to become one more thing on a checklist. And I vowed to myself when I started this that it should stay something fun for me, something I want to do, something I'm excited to do, something I don't feel like is a chore to fit into my week, but is like my favorite thing in the week, or one of my favorite things in the week. So I stopped. I didn't really give you guys any notice, but I needed to take care of myself. And that's really the bottom line. But I thought I'd share a little bit about my journey because I don't know if all of us are talking about it enough, right? There has been a surge. There's been a surge in the media, the social media, and influencers in our age group, women in our age group, talking more and more and more about what's it like to be a woman in midlife, and not from a how us compared to other people, like what are we doing for work? What are we doing in our relationships? Things like that. But like really talking about menopause, perimenopause, really digging into like, you're not at a biological cellular level. You're not the same person. Like, that's really what's happening. And it's like real time happening, real time. So this past winter, I went on a journey with it. I started by looking into hormone replacement, or what I would call menopausal treatment, hormone therapy. And the journey with that is Western medicine is not equipped to just everybody in the medical field would know the battery of tests they need to give you and what levels they're looking at and how to do what treatments to offer you as a result of that. Not every doctor is the same, right? Not every place is the same. I tried to do it through Western medicine. That was clunky and discouraging. Those would be the two words I would describe it with. Yeah. I went in and, one of the nurse practitioners that I worked with, no disrespect to these people, by the way, I'm sure they do a wonderful job with all the other things that they treat, please. But I really got that. And what was so tragic about it is she was probably about 10 years younger than me. So she's probably in her like late 30s, early 40s. And she just treated me like the worried woman syndrome. The thing that we hear that the medical field kind of calls menopause or perimenopause is, yeah, the worried woman. She's coming in. She's just going to tell you she's got aches and pains. She's just going to tell you this. And you just tell her it's getting old. Yeah, you just got to put up with it. So that's the feeling that I got. Like I knew more and was asking the questions than she knew. And in frustration, I would guess, she prescribed me progesterone, which we assumed was what I was low in because of a test, but I'm not really sure if that test was accurate. And what resulted was my insurance company wouldn't cover patches. My insurance company wouldn't cover any kind of oral medication. So it would be an insert. Fine. Okay. I mean, every woman in the world has had a yeast infection and had to put an insert in as medical treatment. So it's not the first or last time something's going to go up there. And I went to the pharmacy, I picked it up, pulled it out of the box, and I'm looking at it. And it's like 2/4 size, like stacked on top of each other, 2/4 size, flat tablet. Not a cream that will melt, like a tablet that's made out of cream that'll melt. A legit hard on the table tablet, like you would swallow, although so large, like craziness. Okay. So midlife women, dry vaginas. Let's just be real. Like, what? Who made this? And how is that supposed to be a vehicle for this to get in my body? I gave it my go. I gave it a good go. Literally every morning. I would put it in at night. Literally every morning, it would plop out in the toilet like nothing had happened. And I'm like, so screw all of you. Let's keep moving forward. So that didn't work. And it was at a low time for me. Like I was just frustrated and, just felt like all the symptoms were heavy on me. Night sweats and not being able to sleep through the night. And when you don't sleep, you're just not, everything is poor when you're not sleeping. All things that you guys know, I am certain. So after that, I really just kind of started this journey of who's going to listen to me? Like who is really going to pay attention to what I'm saying and help me. And also just, educating myself as I was going through it. Like I said, I think I stood across from that nurse practitioner knowing more than she did. And I don't have a medical degree. I don't have any kind of medical degree. I know how to read science. So I know what I know, but like, whoa, that was just, it was a terrible feeling. It's a terrible feeling. You just feel like you're not heard, you're not seen, you're not understood. Right. And I think that's kind of the main piece of what was vexing me through this experience. I would just go to one provider after another, and they would give me tests and they would tell me what that meant. My physical health is not great. And it's all the kinds of symptoms metabolically that start showing up for women in midlife. All things that I saw coming 10 years ago and was like, what should I be doing something? Should I be checking something? Should I be having something? Nobody ever directed me in that. And it's really just because nobody knows. Nobody's trained to help us to do this. Not well enough. Maybe we'll turn this ship around and generations behind us will not have to go through it the same way. But for us, it's a trouble. It's real trouble. So I started to do some alternative medicine things. And what I'll tell you about that is that was the first time I felt heard. That was the first time I really felt listened to and taken seriously. So, their interventions in those types of medicines are oils and supplements and, somatic body interventions, but not hormonal replacement. And so, not as quickly effective as you would think. But I felt listened to. And I can't tell you how important that was. I hope that's what you can find. And what I would encourage you to do if you're in this place with me, if you're on a physical journey, for instance, like your health is tanking in midlife and you're on the verge of having diabetes, you're gaining weight, your energy levels are off, your sleep is off, all of those things. And the medical field is not really treating. They're trying to give you stuff for the symptoms, or they're just telling you to go home and suck it up because you're aging. That's literally, I was told that by several providers. I hope that you keep wildly fighting for yourself to find somebody that will sit down and listen. And it could be anything. It could be an energy healer, somebody who does Reiki. It could be non-traditional medicines like Ayurvedic medicines. It could be expensive. You could put a lot of money into it. I did do a whole set of tests at a clinic that was not covered by insurance, paid $800 out of pocket to look at all of these levels of my hormones, caught a really bad thyroid issue that nobody else had caught yet. And so that did actually have to get course corrected by Western medicine because it was so off, and probably was one of the reasons I was experiencing many of the symptoms that I was, but nobody thought to look. Just you're almost 50. That's what's going on, Dr. Natalie. Stop whining and just suck it up. You're an old lady. Like, I hope that you wildly fight to find a person that listens, that believes you, because I think that is where I started to turn the corner. And it wasn't in like my physical state is the same. It is the same. But my mental state about this is improving immensely just with baby steps. It's not an overnight thing. It's like yesterday was a little bit worse than today. Tomorrow will be a little bit better than today. And I keep progressing in that fashion. And if I look back, last February, gross. That was probably the worst that I was ever feeling. Last April, I had a health condition that showed up, a temporary health condition, and had to do a bunch of extra tests like MRIs and things like that I'd never done before. What a journey, because no one was really paying attention to what I was saying and why it was ailing me. And by the way, I got through all of those and literally got no diagnosis. Just got told, well, it's nothing bad. That's it. That was the diagnosis. You have nothing bad. Like, well, I have this symptom and you guys thought you needed to go all the way to doing CAT scans and MRIs, but I'm so glad that the diagnosis I have is it's not bad. What? So I hope you wildly fight for yourself. I encourage you to wildly fight for yourself, to find that person or set of people. Maybe it's a tribe of just other women that you're talking to about your symptoms and you're feeling heard and seen, but there is something really monumentally helpful about being believed and being considered and being understood. And so that has been kind of the muck that I was in. And unfortunately, it had a negative effect on midlife crisis from a midlife crisis to a centered life thriving. I'm not even editing that out because I just didn't have the time, just because I was hustling to pay the bills and be the mom and do all of those base things. And then I had this complicated, I have to figure out what is going on because this is not sustainable. How I was feeling was not sustainable. Where I'm at in my journey right now is I've done everything with my nutrition. My nutritionist was one of these people that was kind of like on the fringes, right? Not necessarily, some parts of it were covered by insurance, but not necessarily the Western medicine focus. Like, really listened to me, really understood, like, oh my gosh, you're eating better than like 90% of the population. So yeah, I can understand your discouragement when you gain 10 pounds every year. Like that makes literally no sense. You're eating so clean and yet what? So, having people like that were listening to me and helping me through things has helped me to keep everything kind of at the same. So, last year's physical to this year's physical, all the labs look the same. But that's actually an improvement because I had been declining every year. So I've done as much as I can do. I've gone as far as I can go, with the exception of one area, which I think next time when we sit down, we can talk about, but that is exercise. I could be doing more, and know from the literature, the way that we're supposed to be going, actually go back. Beginning of 2024, I had a podcast guest on that she front to back helped us understand what's going on in women's bodies and how exercise can be a piece of helping you with your symptomology. And those are the places that I haven't made any changes. And the reason why I think we could have a podcast about it is just because, like, the diet culture has abused and bruised me, deeply wounded me in my almost 50 years. And because of that, I'm having a huge psychological aversion, a reaction that, like, I just want to push it away. I do is walk. Like, I've talked about that on the podcast before. It's really, that will always be something really wonderful for my mental health. It's not the movement that our physical health needs at this time. So you can continue to do it for your emotional wellness, because if it's something you love, like I do, like, yes, go outside, walk. But it is not the kind of exercise that you need. Again, you can go back to podcasts at the turn of the year in 2024, and there were 3 different podcasts, and one of them was completely dedicated to the exercise science piece. And then I'll talk a little bit about what I've read up on it when I talk to you next. But that's the block for me. That's the block. I just can't seem to add that little piece in, which could give me some improvement, but nothing significant. Like, really, the reality is that, my body at a cellular level is a different person than it was 5 years ago, even a year ago, but for sure 5 years ago. But my mind is stuck in, why isn't it doing what I could do 5 years ago? And that's a heavy load, ladies. It's a heavy load for us to be carrying right now. And I just wanted to normalize that. Like, I fell off the map, and I fell off the map like many of us do, because this stage of life change in our physicality is just the straw that's breaking our camel's back. It's the straw that is telling us, like, I got nothing left. I can't put something towards this. So I'm sorry that this fell off. I will do my best to start being on again, and maybe even having some guests again at some point. Not anytime soon. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'll try to pop on here. I'll try to keep you up to date with what's going on in my life. I'm going to use my life as a good roadmap of where you're probably at. And we can talk about how I'm experiencing it. I can give you some advice on, what I know, what works, what doesn't work. We can chat about it. I'd love to hear from you in my comments and in my socials. DM me if you've got some ideas for things you want me to be talking about women's health, women's mental health, midlife, change of life, all of these things, how it's impacting you, what you want to know about that. I'm here to discover it with you, and I'm here to help all of us go from a midlife crisis to a centered life thriving. Because I am a licensed clinical psychologist in the state of Minnesota, I have to make sure at the end of each of these episodes that I give you the disclaimer that none of the material that I talk about in these podcasts is meant to replace any kind of therapy or formal medical or mental health treatment. And in fact, anything that I offer on my website, my coaching programs, any kind of psychoeducational materials that I release are not a replacement for that level of care. So just take that into account when you listen. This is information for you, and hopefully you find it of value, both as an educational tool and for your entertainment. And I also want to mention that if anyone you know is in a mental health crisis, needs additional help, I always include these 2 crisis resources. They're available to anybody. Pick up the phone and dial 988 for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. And you can always visit their website at suicidepreventionlifeline.org. Additionally, there's actually a crisis text line. So if you're not somebody that likes to pick up the phone, text HOME, home, to 741-741. to the crisis text line. And you can find them online at crisistextline.org. Thank you for listening to my podcast, and I hope that you like and follow me wherever you get your podcasts, and maybe consider leaving me a review. It always helps me to keep this podcast relevant when I know what you want to hear about.